Namaste. It's interesting, as I come to the end of a cycle, it'll be the beginning of a new cycle. That's the way it works. That's the way the universe rolls. So I'm nearing, this should be number 322 of my total, out of my 333 sharing videos that I started out in July 18th, 2018. I didn't know when I started, I didn't know they were going to be exactly 33 minutes, and things have evolved and things continue to evolve. And speaking of evolution, it's always good to go full circle. So now, as I'm wrapping up some special, I've already got the titles for the number 332 and number 333, the completion of my project, and I'll continue with my private practice. I have a small group that I work with quite closely, and I'm going to dedicate myself more and more to that group and kind of specialize. And that group will either grow or it won't. I'm okay either way, but I have a nice little small handful of people that I'm working with. And I'm going to have a retreat, my own private retreat, I think, where I'll go into experiment with silence. I've mentioned a long time ago that I spent a year not talking at all, but I was fortunate. I was isolated up in the volcano area on the Big Island, Hawaiian Paradise. What a name! Or Hawaiian Acres, or let's stick with Hawaiian Paradise because it was paradise. And I had a small little trailer with a fireplace and some place to sleep and keep out of, because it's wet and rains a lot. And I was growing anthuriums and really having a good time. And go down to the bottom of the hill, 30-minute drive to go to the market, and I didn't have to talk. I just fill my basket up and take it back up, and I kept it simple. And I had a little stove to cook on, and that was that. 1 year in total silence. And what was amazing is starting to talk. It was much easier to stop talking than it was to start talking. It was really an effort to, once you stop using something, use it or lose it. So it took me a while to start being able to articulate again, and I still continued to be by myself mostly, but I tried, go to the market, would say hi to somebody, and broke into it gradually. So, like I said, all things come to an end, all things still allow for a new beginning, and all things come full cycle, where you're right back to, well, when I say cycle, I'm talking about a spiral. So when it stops here, and the spiral never stops, it's continually moving. It's much higher than the original circle that it came from. In fact, it's never been a circle, it's always been a spiral. And the spiral, not a two-handed spiral, but it's really one. And that's the life trajectory. I just did something about the power of no, and talking about negation. Saying no. The power of saying no, and the beauty that comes, the self-assurance and the self-esteem that one needs to say no. Especially when no was based on, well, if I don't say yes, they won't like me. And I've always been kind of a contrary, you know. When people tell me to do something, I didn't do it. And my wife recently, I didn't want to go shopping, and she said, well, she needed a car the next day, and I was planning to go, blah, blah, blah. So I didn't want to go shopping. It was raining, and she made it obvious to me that I needed to go shopping. And she changed her tack. She didn't ever tell me I had to go shopping, but she made it clear through body language that she wanted me to get my things done that day, yesterday. Which now, in 2020 hindsight, thank you, sweetie. They're done, and now she's out and I'm free, and here I am. But she said, "All right, never mind. You don't have to go." And of course, within 5 minutes, I was gone, and she'd rediscovered uh, something that she probably already knew, probably had already observed, even though it was seldom directed to her, because she's not the type to tell me to do things. But I've always resisted being told what to do. More than resisted, and it's a passive resistance, which I talked about, not a confrontational. Don't say no, don't say yes. And wait to see if they notice it. My first marriage, that ended more than 33 years ago, my first marriage that didn't only last, I think we lived together for 3 years and it took 5 years to get through the divorce. But she would always tell me no, and it'd take her a long time. She was a smart cookie. And she would say to me, "Hey, you didn't say yes or no." And my answer would be, "Really?" And she'd bust me. But non-confrontational has always been my style. Just do what I want. I don't have to declare it. I don't have to fight for it. I don't have to argue about it. I simply just do it. And what I want, if I'm told to do something, what I want is not to do it. So I don't do it. And whatever this personality trait is, I don't know. I know I've paid heavy dues because it's cost me for not doing what other people want me to, what other people tell me to do, from parental figure, from my mother, to school figures. But I discovered really early the beauty of passive resistance. I didn't need to be right. I didn't need to verbalize, insist that, no, I won't do that, or to prove a point. What's the point? You just get an argument. But if you master not saying yes or no, it makes it easier. Passive resistance always worked for me because I'm not an in-your-face aggressive guy unless I'm pushed too far. And I've been known to, I always stood up for myself. And when it called for it, I stood up quite vigorously and made it very well known that I wouldn't suffer bullying. But few and far between. So one of the things we've talked about is giving up any sense of control. And I'm always reminded, I like human design. Those of you that don't know anything about it, go look into it. My friend John Martin has a great web page, Human Design Hawaii, I think. Check it out. He's got an interesting take on things, but he did a video about negation, about how our mind is never in control, and when we think our mind, when we identify with our mind, it's not taking us anywhere, okay? So they talk about being in a spaceship, being in a car, being in a vehicle, hurtling through space in the back seat. No driver. Of course, you don't see the driver is a destiny karma at a certain stage, then it starts to begin with I'm working on the word surrender. With surrender and being able to say Do you know the beauty of saying, I don't know? What a beauty that is, or just simply don't know. Get rid of the pronoun, because that pronoun represents the ego. In this case, it's a little I. But don't know. I love that. Don't know. Yes, the liberty of saying don't know, because there's so much more I don't know than I ever will know. And I'm better than fine. I'm okay with that. Because what would the point be to resisting how little we can possibly know of the infinite knowingness that it would require? I've had glimpses, I've had brief moments of spending time when I got a feeling, when I did know everything that could be, will be, would be, should be. There's a conditional tense. Everything that has been, is, and will be. I've known it all at a certain point of the awakening for a brief period of time. And it's not sustainable. Just as I've mentioned before, that bliss, residing in a constant state of bliss, is not sustainable. I can't keep it in the body. I'm gone. I think this is how they pass. Constant state of bliss, and they just go because it's too much. But what you can be and what you are, what you're surrounded by, and what's your birthright is to appreciate the state of joy, the joyfulness that comes from being blessed with this body, being blessed with this opportunity to learn, to grow, to study, to love, to see the beauty of the physical world, to walk by the sea, to walk in the mountains, to breathe the fresh air. So, when I was talking about full circle, I was coming about the power of no is where I would say that somebody can begin. And the power of no, you say no to fear, you say no to jealousy, you say no to materialism, you say no to accomplishments or achievements or desires. You start by saying no to fear. And when you work on fear, I might save that to the last if I was you, because the fear of dying is probably the most universal and the most feared. And it's ironic because it happens to everyone. I think it's more fearful to be born again than it is to die, personally. Because the whole idea is we shed this physical shell. But the eternal, the soul spirit, the infinite is within. And it only will express itself as energy. Energy doesn't dissipate. It's only it's constant. So I talked about no. Well, that was a miracle. 1333, when I glanced down, 1333. There I go. When I glanced down at my time on this, that was 1348, now into this video. But I was saying, what do you do as a beginner? And this idea of the power of no. Because it's security. You're learning to trust yourself. You're learning to feel safe and secure within by listening to your inner voice, by listening to your spirit guides, by listening to your higher self. The security of knowing that you're getting closer to figuring out what's going on. And figuring out what's going on just means open your eyes. Come on now. You exist in perfection. Your existence is perfection. It's only the mind, the ego, the cloud. And you know when on a cloudy day, a rainy day, The sun's still there. So remember, find the sun. Appreciate the sun is always there. The consistency. And even at night, we can't see it, but it's still there. Just another part of the earth is enjoying its warmth. Because we need the balance. We need light and darkness. We need the night. We need the moon. The power of the moon. The moon kind of fades in the daytime. But at nighttime, it reigns supreme. Yin and yang. A different time for a different purpose. We rest, rejuvenate, rejoice in the Mother Moon. Renewal from our sleep, a renewal. We wake up to greet the sun as a new man or woman every single day. I'm not the same man I was yesterday, and I won't be the same man. As I always say, my mantra is, I'm a better man today than I was yesterday, and I'll be a better man tomorrow than I am today. And that puts a smile to my face, brings a smile to my face. I'm a better man than yesterday. I'll be a better man tomorrow. And that doesn't mean I won't make mistakes today. The magic of making mistakes is you can practice forgiveness. Embrace yourself, hug yourself, forgive yourself first. You practice so that you can forgive others. If you can't forgive yourself, if you can't love yourself, if you can't look to yourself with the respect that you deserve, you can't entertain this for anybody else. So it all begins at home, within. So I said, practicing this power of no is really empowering. And top of that is beliefs. I think start with beliefs, because I think in some way, maybe insidiously, not overtly, inadvertently, it's beliefs that is our biggest stumbling point. I believe. Yeah, right. And then belief is countered by doubt, which is preceded by questions, or you start to say, I doubt that, you doubt everything, and then the question remains is, okay, if you doubt everything, what's left? What is there? You begin through a process of questioning until the time that you abandon questioning. So you've gone through doubt, you've gone through questioning. Now the power of no. Hey, guess what? Newsflash, not everybody's going to like you. Get over it. Be happy if anyone likes you. You know, that's when you start counting on one hand. I always said a true friend, if you can count 5 friends, lifetime friends, and if you can feel one hand, you're so lucky. And I've talked about what a friendship means. A friendship means that if you ask anyone, they'll do whatever they can with no questions. If it's within their purview, within their scope of ability, they will do it. No questions asked. Selfless friendship. And you have to provide, you have to provide this first. It's our job to provide this first before we can expect it from anybody else, and we can never expect it. We can only appreciate it in those rare instances it occurs. But I suggest that self-reliance is more important, than that there should be very, very few times that you have to look outside for support. There are times, but be a source of that support first. A selfless source. And once you start getting rid of all those encumbrances of the mind and desires, and possession and power. You get to the point, okay, you've gone through that beginning process. Now you've culminated with recognizing the power of no, and you're self-sustaining, looking within. Then all of a sudden you notice that, and this is the next stage, no needs, no wants equals no worries. It's needing, it's the illusion of needing, the illusion of wanting, and the elimination of these two, all too prevalent and common human qualities, misdirected. You worry up, no worries. So this no needs, no wants equal no worries leads to you to fully embrace what it means of letting it go. If you don't have any needs, you don't have any wants, and you've gotten rid of worries, what's left? You're the clean slate that you came into this world. Of course, we had karmic debt, or we would have escaped the wheel of samsara, the wheel of suffering, the wheel that's caused by previous actions. And remember, when I talk about karma, no good karma, no bad karma. We were really misled about that. Karma is karma. Karma means action. So you can say, yes, bad actions. Yes, good actions. But it doesn't result in, good karma doesn't result in good rewards. And bad karma doesn't necessarily equal negation to bad luck. What it means is that people and conditions and places will be provided again, that and it's an opportunity to put them to rest, to clean the slate. Do what you can, and mostly it means addressing the people that you slighted. Offer your sincere regret for your previous behavior, and it's up to them to accept it or not. But the beauty of offering it up, of making the effort, you have to make this effort sincerely. But the beauty, what it does is it doesn't really matter if they forgive you or not. You've forgiven yourself. It's the process of forgiving yourself. Recognizing your shortcomings, your wrongdoing, doing your best that you can to address them, and that's by honest communication. Put the cards on the table. Don't mess around. I'll give you a very personal example. I was a deadbeat dad. I am a deadbeat dad, I guess. And I just wasn't equipped to take care of my son on my own. I didn't have support or friends. I can make excuses. Stop it. I was a deadbeat dad. And I reached out recently to the ex and said, I asked her, can you ever forgive me? And no response. So I had to let it, I was free to let it go at that point, because there's nothing that I can't go back in time and be a different person than who I am sitting in front of you. And I like to think that my 20 years of university teaching, where I treated all my students as my children, and at least some point kind of balanced, kind of paid off my debt for my failure to my own son. It's not the same. But when you really get down to it, where this whole idea of blood is blood is blood, it's an accident of birth. We choose. Anyway, I was met with no response. But I carried this burden for 40 years. This guilt, this burden. Because number one, I would never say, deadbeat dad. Okay? I would say, well, this and this, and I wasn't prepared, and I started today, And I got my own little internal dialogue that somehow made it livable, that I could look myself in the mirror, but never this deep wound in my heart was always there until I only recently did all that I thought I could do at this point in time. I can't go say it in person because of COVID. They're in California. I'm here. But that's maybe an excuse too, huh? But all of that doesn't matter as much as that I could finally put it to rest, let it go. And this had happened. I'd already awakened by several years. But I do believe that this occurred just before the Trikaya, the completion of my Trikaya, the lover. When you accept Buddha, the first awakening, as you're awakened as a lover, and you discover compassion and your heart, and you work through love, and you mature. You have to raise the Buddha up, just as we raise an infant. It's faster, though. And so that's the first part of the Trikaya. I'll be careful with this finger. The second part of the Trikaya was becoming... I'm not... This is what I stick on. I know it's when you're living the Dharma. Becoming the process, that's it. Becoming the process. When you're mature enough as a Buddha that it's your turn to either share the Dharma, certainly live the Dharma, and for many people that's enough. They're living the life. The Dharma is the teachings. The Buddha's teachings that were only transmitted in Xing, yin Xing, from heart to heart. They couldn't ever be verbalized. This is the Dharma, the true Dharma. So you can live it as an example that goes unnoticed for the greater part, but that's not important at all. Maybe a few people will notice, and that's what happened with me, and I got a small little handful of people that look to me for guidance, and my job is to share my experience, number one, encourage them that it has to come from within. When I feel that they're ready, offer them the opportunity. For me, it was my teacher, my Sifu, metaphorically took me to the cliff and said, okay, jump, and turned his back and walked away. He was done. Just as I will be done is when I give the opportunity. What happens after that is not in my job description. I'm going back to working with the people that I can help get to this stage. And trust me, there's not many that are ready to go to the cliff. I mentioned before, there's only 780,000 people in the world that are really ready to even begin this process of discovery, of self-discovery. So, I always used to tell my students, don't worry, be happy, and I live by that. Don't worry, be happy. Favorite song. Just I can hear it in my mind. Don't worry, be happy. So now, the last two teachings, I've gone back and talked to the beginners, and I think I will continue in this same vein. I'll just have to think what comes next after having no needs and no worry, no wants, equaling no worries. And before that, you had to overcome your fear, you had to deal with jealousy, you had to deal with the false illusion of some kind of accomplishment. There's nothing to be accomplished. You're already perfection. Nothing to be accomplished. All you need to do is open your eyes and see the perfection and the ordinariness, because this is the condition that we all are in, of. Nothing special, but when you think about it, being ordinary is extraordinary, extraordinary. And to be satisfied with being, not only satisfied, but embrace it, to live it, to realize ordinariness is how beautiful it is. I'm an ordinary man in sometimes extraordinary circumstances. Certainly have extraordinary opportunities. So where I go from there remains to be seen. That'll be in my next video. But I'm trying, I will make an effort to start again. Not start again with the process, since, let's see, I talked about always being, always becoming, and that was more of an esoteric, a deeper. And when I talked about facing darkness, this was video number 97 plus plus. Facing darkness is how to begin with dealing with fear, which is already relatively advanced. I think really the beginning was finding your spirit guides, because we all have them, and you need them, and you need to be connected to your higher self, and you need to look to your spirit guides as sources of support, love, compassion. And how can you be alone when you have these beautiful beings that have committed to you? Then I started with the power of no. And now today, no needs, no wants equals no worries. I love Buffalo. Buffalo, he's an amazing Taiwanese friend, same age as me, and he's just a beautiful man. And we get together to practice English every week. And he just has embraced, let it go, recognizing that nothing is truly in our hands, and that surrender of letting it go just is such a reward. Such a reward. Look, let it go. I feel my shoulders. I'm tense, and I carry my load in my shoulders. Some carry it in the stomach. I've had times when I've carried the stomach. Sometimes it's in the mind, but mine's definitely in my shoulders. And I have this kind of really poor posture. And at 73, I'm going on 74. I don't see it improving anytime soon, because it's been a lifetime. And it has a lot to do with feeling responsible for things I'm not responsible for.